Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you, and thank you for taking a little bit of your time during this Christmas season, this holiday season, and spending it here with us. I'm Eoin Devereux, news reporter with the Banner Press, joined this week by the person who did all the work really on the December 23rd edition of the paper, Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you here because you got a lot to talk about.
Good to be here, and yeah, I certainly do. Just looking at the story list here and recalling the things that I covered for that week. Yeah, lots to go through. Yeah.
Now, a little bit of a precursor, an explanation for you as to some of the details of this week's edition, and really actually next week's edition, unless you're watching it next week. It's this week's edition of the show. We're going to be talking about the December 23rd and the December 30th editions of the Neepawa Banner today. Our regular paper, the 23rd, and the 30th was our year in review. So it was a lot of work that went into those. Casper really did focus on, honestly, the December 23rd. The stories we're going to be talking about are their stories this week. I have a few sports-related things in there, but really what Casper was able to track down, I think, is more important and deserves that spotlight just a little bit more. And in terms of the 30th, it's just going to be a little bit of a review of the year that was, some of our own personal reflections of how things went in 2022. So let's start off with the 23rd, and Casper, you attended, and I appreciate that because I had family responsibilities and family things I was taking care of on this day. You were able to cover the Neepawa Figure Skating Club's annual Christmas show this year.
Yes, I did, and it's definitely something I've covered in the past as well. Always a fantastic show, and it was again this year. I only stayed for the first hour, of course. Had to get out and do my own things as well after that. But no, excellent show. There was a lot of good performances in that first hour. I think I was there for about 9 of them. So I think just over half, because there's 19 performances total. And of course, they have an intermission in between because it's a long show. Yeah. Understandably so. There's a lot of people in there. But yeah, very good performances. A lot of them obviously being holiday themed, Christmas specifically, lots of Christmas music and outfits and costumes. And one very dramatic performance by Dimitri Smith that I think really captivated the audience as well. Didn't have a photo that I really liked that turned out well from that, unfortunately. I found it a bit more difficult to take photos this year for some reason, but it always is a challenge to get photos that turn out in a large figure skating rink. If you're in one spot and they're all the way down the ice and just happen to do a trick and you're just a little too far away, and of course all the motion as well. But
isn't that always the way, and not just for figure skating, but for other physical sporting action events like that, where you're plopped down in your location, it's a good spot, it's like, oh, the coolest thing just happened way over there. Oh, man.
Hockey, football, soccer, whatever it is, it's going to happen. And then you decide, okay, I'm going to move. I'm going to try and get some shots from down there. And then the action happens all the way on the other end.
That's always the way. You know, the funny thing is from time to time, especially for hockey down at the Yellowhead Center, anyone that's been there knows that the walkway is underneath the bleachers, so you don't have visibility from time to time. When I'll be covering hockey games, I'll be taking pictures, and then I'll walk around, maybe just get a different angle, and underneath the concourse area, every once in a while I'll hear a giant, yay! Because they just scored a goal. It's like, oh no! Yep. Oh man, why did I decide to move slightly to the left?
The number of times that has happened to me when I've gone to cover hockey games for you, absolutely not countable. Yeah. Absolutely not. Oh my God.
That's why when we get those pictures, there's certain pictures I remember historically over the years from the Tigers, from the Titans, and from the farmers. It's just when those little special ones, 1 in a million shots come, those are a big deal. It's like, oh yes, this is the one, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And again, like with all due respect, Dimitri, who has been a part of this, the figure skating club for so many years, he's appeared in so many editions of this.
Yes.
So, missing one, I think, will be okay.
And he does still get a little bit of an appearance on the front page there in a group shot. So he's got his fame. He's got his fame.
Oh, yeah. And it's great to be able to see not just Dimitri, but everyone involved with the figure skating club be able to showcase like this. Over the last couple of years, sometimes the events have been canceled. There's been certain regulations in place for it. Let me ask, what was the attendance like for that? Was it a good crowd?
It was actually pretty good, yeah. There was a few people in the rink itself. Most people were choosing the warmer location in the lobby, but it was pretty crowded. I'm not sure what I would give for a rough count, but it was pretty packed, I think. Yeah.
That's the one unfortunate thing about the Yellowhead Center, and I don't want it to seem like I'm complaining about it or belittling the structure of it, because there's so many other arenas that have similar structures to this, but they do have the seating in the concourse area, and a lot of seniors decide that they do want to be able to sit in there and be comfortable, be room temperature, because when you go into the arena, obviously it's much colder. It's not one of the new arenas that's throughout Manitoba. It's an old school arena, which means it's cool, it's chilly in there. So a lot of people don't partake in that. But I wish we could get more people out from the concourse into the arena proper, because when you have sporting events like that, or figure skating, well, figure skating is a sporting event as well, when you have things like this going on, that crowd reaction, it means a lot to the people on the ice, whether it's figure skating, whether it's hockey, or any type of sport like that. But again, that's a little quibble on my part. I mean, it's just wonderful that people were able to go out on December 18th when this occurred, because it was a little chilly over the weekend, a little bit of snow. Yeah. So.
Yeah. It definitely got cold really fast. So I'm glad it had as good a turnout as it did, and everyone was really excited for it. So I could tell, because every performance, anyone who was inside the arena, I could hear them clap with like everything, some of the tricks as well. And even just the figure skating club people would just really boost each other up, and you could see everyone smiling and having fun. So it was really awesome. I think actually one of my favorite performances was a group of the senior skaters, and they did kind of a little bit of a skit there where they had like a fake radio out on the ice with some prop microphones as well. And partway through the performance, one of the skaters like hit the stereo, and so like music started like skipping and then just like cut out, and then they like put on a karaoke performance and continued on doing their routine. It was really cool. The
amount of time and effort and imagination it takes to put something like that on, you got to give them much kudos, commend them very much in terms of the time and effort that they and their families and the teachers, the instructors put into that. So once again, if you'd like to see some of the pictures from the Neepawa Figure Skating Club's annual Christmas Ice Show, you can see it on page 1 of the December 23rd edition of the Banner Press. Some additional pictures are inside on page 10. It's a smaller paper this week. It's only a 16-pager, but this is the story behind the stories. That's why we named it this. We actually did 2 papers, the 23rd edition and the 30th edition, in 2 days. We turned into a daily for a short period of time, because the Neepawa Banner Press, we do take a little bit of time off from time to time. So we're going to have the Christmas week off from the 26th to the 30th, I believe, yes. So to do that, we have to get both papers done well in advance. So that's why we're going to be talking about both those papers today. And but it is it's interesting to see. Ken Waddell in the back there went over how many pages we've done in the last 10 days. We did our usual 20 pages for one edition. Then we did our special, which we talked about last week, Christmas edition, which featured 20 pages in the A section and 2 extra sections, 8 pages each. So that's 28, that's 36 pages, 56 pages total. Then this one, 16, so 66, 72 pages. And then we got lazy on the year in review, only did 12. So that's around 80 in 10 days. 84 pages, I believe, we've done. Wow, we're good at this.
It's a lot of pages. It's a lot of pages. Yeah, it was definitely, at least I felt it. It was a little bit crazy in the office trying to get everything done, but it all turned out really well.
Oh yeah. And again, it's one of those things of that's the reality of a business like this. Sometimes you are overrun. As we went through the paper there, you just sort of, you do what you can with the time you have to deal with. And like I said, I focused a lot on sort of putting the structure together for the December 30th edition, and you covered commendably the 23rd edition with this and other stories. This next story we're going to talk about as well, about a horse breeder. You were able to get this story, and it's interesting. I got to admit, I don't know much about Suffolk breeding horses. Like, you made it very easy to sort of understand what it was about and what this person was, sort of the genre of horses that they're in. But you're going to do a better job of explaining this than I just muddled through. So talk to us a little bit about what's on page 2.
Well, thank you. It is definitely a lot of information to cover, so I won't be able to go through all of it, and I'm not really supposed to, because we want you to pick up the paper and get all the details for yourself as well. But I had a chance to communicate with Krista McKee of Minnedosa, who raises and breeds Suffolk horses, which is a particular breed of draft horse. Very specific coloring and size on that horse, very uniform, and has remained pretty unchanged since they became a thing, really. I think they, just trying to crawl off the top of my head here, I think they were first imported to Canada in like 1896, I believe it was, but didn't gain much popularity back then, and some other circumstances as well, sort of drawing away from horses in general, mechanization, I think, because it was like war at some point. I think World War II is the specific one that Krista mentioned, and so she's regarded them as a pretty well kept secret in agriculture, because they were specifically bred for agriculture but just didn't gain the popularity back then and for quite a while, but they're gaining popularity now.
Which is interesting, because when you look at the pictures, we have several pictures in this week's paper to go along with the story. This is a beautiful breed of horse, just remarkable looking animals.
Absolutely, yeah, and you can definitely see they have, even just in still pictures, you can see they have a lot of strength in them, and that's definitely one thing that she highlighted. But those photos are from a few events that she actually got to see at a gathering for the, it's a long name, North American Suffolk Horse Association, or NASHA for short. They held a annual gathering and AGM, of course, and it was down in Ohio. She went there earlier and provided that report to us this month. Lots of incredible events. I think there was like 29 horses there, teaming up for that event, different sorts of demonstrations put on, and just absolutely incredible looking at the photos there. And Krista herself is actually, with her family, the largest Suffolk breeder, not just in Canada, but the entirety of North America, which is just mind-blowing to me, especially with it being in such a short period of time. Her family purchased their first Suffolk horses in like 2016.
Wow. Okay.
So it's progressed along quite fast. Yeah.
If you'd like to learn a little bit more, you can pick it up in the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. These are the types of feature stories we love to be able to do from time to time. The hard news, those are important aspects of a paper in a smaller community like this. The things like council and other events that are very directly impactful to you. But these types of feature things, we're able to take local individuals and families and showcase what makes them special and what makes our region special. We love to be able to do that as well. So this is worth your time over the holiday season. All right, let's go over to another thing that you covered there in relation to Westlake Employment Services, if I remember right. And they got their annual general meeting that's going to be coming up in the new year. So they wanted to put a spotlight on that, didn't they?
Yes, absolutely. They're holding their AGM on January 18th. So they're going to be reviewing the year, and of course they're also looking for more board members. They have a good board there. I was talking to both Gord and of course their management person, Fleur de Lis. And they know the importance of changing up who's on the board and just adding more people who haven't been on it before, because you get those fresh ideas, and that's really what they want there. So they're hoping to have smart people step up and get involved with that too.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Now, we don't talk too much about Westlake Employment. It's because again, it's one of those businesses that for the most part just does its job, one of those organizations that does its job very quickly, very quietly behind the scenes, but it is very important for the community, for helping so many new arrivals, and not just new arrivals to our community, but anyone within our community to find opportunities. So very pleased to be able to share some of those details and the importance of Westlake Employment to Neepawa and the surrounding area. All right, so there's many other stories that we could talk about in the December 23rd edition. There's several sports things with the high school hockey team, with the Neepawa Farmers, some stats from the Neepawa Titans' most recent games. But again, these are weekly little things here and there. You can find them, you can track them down yourself in the paper. Or, you know, if you don't have a physical copy of it that you can grab, you can find it at mywestman.ca. Let's shift over to the December 30th edition in the last portion of our show here. This was a lot of work. This is a visual representation of the year that was. And we are so far ahead right now. I'd love to show you an actual physical copy of the newspaper, aside from this little print-off that we usually do. We don't even have it yet. We don't even have it in the office as of right now. So, but by the time you see this, hopefully it will be out and about, and you'll be able to pick up a physical copy of it, because there was a lot of time and effort that put into the work of it. This is our physical visual paper every year. We went through the year that was. We grabbed a bunch of sort of front pages and notable stories. We weren't even able to get every story that we thought was interesting or intriguing and put it on the pages. So it's just 12 pages, but we still tried to get as many as we could. So, for examples, the flood in Minnedosa that occurred back in May. A very special ceremony. This is one I attended on the back page. Lieutenant General Ray Crabb, who was honored here in Neepawa back in July. As well, honors from Mark Morehouse, the former staff sergeant for the RCMP who retired. All these little things here and there throughout the year. We wanted to put a spotlight once again on some of these individuals and some of these events. Now, let me ask you about the year that was for you, Casper. Was there anything for you that sort of jumped out, or as you sit here thinking about that right now, it's like, oh yeah, that was kind of interesting, or that kind of sucked, or, you know, good or bad?
Well, I'll be honest, that I don't know what it was about this year specifically, but it seemed to go by really fast. Everything is a blur. But still looking at the back page here, I'm shivering just a bit because there was that big snowstorm in April this year, and we have the front page, or not the front page, the photograph from just outside the the town office, there was a massive snowdrift, and it's still snowing in that photo. So it makes me shiver. Glad we don't have to shovel that much right now.
Now you've jinxed
for
us.
now, I'll knock on wood there. I've just done it, so don't blame me if we get something else coming down. The
interesting thing about the story you just mentioned, Casper, the snowstorm,
Yeah.
as we were putting the paper together, someone in our office said, "Oh yeah, right, I forgot about the snowstorm." That's the way it is, that type of, the year that was, there were so many things that are on the go or happening, or you get tunnel vision and focused. And these are just a little reminder of like, oh yeah, right. Remember those 3 days where nobody could move?
Yeah.
Nobody could do anything?
Oh my gosh. Oh, it definitely feels like that. Of course, not because of our snow, but more so the temperature. It definitely feels like that for the past roughly week now. It's been quite cold. So.
And the funny thing about that story in particular, the May snowstorm, is where I live in Neepawa is there's a little incline on the road that goes down. So pretty much my driveway, as soon as you pull out, you're at that sort of level of an incline. And I bought my vehicle while I was working somewhere else where it's all flat surface. So it isn't a 4x4. So during the winter, at least once, sometimes more, during the year when the roads don't get cleared quickly enough and the snow comes down to a heavy degree, I can't get out of my driveway. Even though my driveway's cleared, the road won't be cleared and the snow will be so built up that unfortunately, because my vehicle is not built for 4x4, I can't get up the hill. So there's been a couple times each and every year where my car will just very slowly start sliding down the hill until it gets to the bottom. And then it'll be like, all right, I got to pull up here, get some speed going. No, still going down. So I end up for a day or two having to walk to work. And fortunately, it's only maybe about 3 blocks from where I am. 3 large blocks, long blocks, but still only 3 blocks. But still, it's one of those little quirks of living in the community and just the way it sets up and the way winter is. And I remember correctly, April, that snowstorm was one of those times. It really was.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think even for me, if I'm thinking of the right one, we sort of live near each other, but I'm more up the hill. I'm like at the top, so I don't have to worry about sliding down. However, I still wasn't able to move my car. I had to try because we thought the snowplows were going to come and clear some stuff away, so I had to try and get into, circle around and get into the driveway there. It was a little precarious trying to do that. I could barely move, and when I did, I was going very, very slowly because that's all I could really do. But even going so slowly, I was like on the verge of getting stuck or like slipping and sliding, and it was a whole mess. But eventually got it done, thank goodness, after I don't know how long that took, probably about 10 minutes or so, just to go around the block a little bit and come down the back lane, but got through it. This year there's actually been a good number of significant things, even if they were a bit more spread out. Some very good fundraisers for Ukraine, which was great to see. Rodeo events, the announcement for the pool in Westlake Gladstone.
Yeah. You know, the one thing that sort of pops out for me, it occurred a month after our snowstorm, but it was a major weather event as well. We didn't feel it to the same degree here, but our neighbors down the road in Minnedosa definitely felt it. It was the rainstorms and the massive rainstorms that occurred in May that caused overflow onto the river in Minnedosa. And we have, you can see it on page 2 of the December 30th edition of the Banner Press, some of the pictures we took from them battling that storm, trying to deal with it as best we can. I remember being there a couple times. Rain was still coming down. And it was overcast, it was cloudy, the rain would stop for a little bit and then it would start up again. Seeing all those people, all those individuals from Minnedosa, from surrounding areas, I ran into one or two individuals from Neepawa who actually drove down to help out in any way they could as well, which was wonderful to see under difficult circumstances. I remember going to the area where they were putting all the sandbags together and thinking, oh, thank God I didn't wear my good shoes today, because it was just a mud pit. It was just a complete and utter, like once you started walking in, even, you got up to, it was up to the jeans there where it was covered in mud. It was like, ah. But I wore the good shoes. I didn't wear the good, durable shoes. I sort of, that's a part of this business. For the first couple years when you're in business of media, whether it's a newspaper or whether it was for radio or television, because my first 11 years in this business were all in radio. You'd think, oh, you're in a booth. You don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
No. You got to go out to events sometimes. So there were a few times my first, second year where I had to go out to events and I didn't realize, it was like, I wanted to dress nice, tie and all that, and nice shoes. Don't wear nice shoes. Wear durable shoes, because you don't know when you're going to be in a field or when you're going to be in a mud pit covering the news of the day. That's the thing. So that's the one thing I remember most definitely, is walking through all that dirt, all that mud, and seeing all these people putting in the work. Casper, it made me feel almost a little bit guilty of taking pictures on the camera and not putting it down and doing and helping out in some way, shape, or form. But that's the reality of this business from time to time. You are there to cover the experience. You are there to share the experience with those who are not there themselves. Yeah. So you've got to be able to look past that from time to time. But that's the one for me that definitely jumps out.
Yeah, and what you mentioned, it's definitely something that can be a tricky thing to do. Obviously, when you're there for lighter events, super easy. You just, whatever's going on is going on. You're there, you're taking your shots, getting good angles. But it is definitely more difficult when there's something serious going on, because, usually the thing to do in those situations is to help, but you're also there for your own job too. And so it feels a little weird having to go in there and just stay focused on what you need to do and then just go on to the next thing. But it's part of the news business, and I don't know if maybe at least for larger news places, perhaps people who are watching the process can maybe feel, I'm guessing anyway, that it's a little bit callous, but definitely for us, we really feel for the people that we see going through things, and it's not stuff that we like covering, but we need to cover it because it is news. So whenever there's lighter things, we're definitely more than happy to help cheer things up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, when it comes to that, I could share some stories over my 19 years. It's coming up on 19 years I've been doing this journalism. But that's for another show, I'm sure. We're coming to the end of this show. So once again, as always, we appreciate you tuning in each and every week and throughout the year that was 2022, right here on NAC TV. If you have any story suggestions or anything, you can always contact us at 476-3401, the number we can be reached at. If you have some complaints, you can call those too. We'll give you to Ken Waddell. If you have any story suggestions as well, news@neepawabanner.com is the number you can reach us at. So once again, thank you very much for taking the time in 2022. Casper, thank you very much for taking the time in 2022 as well to be on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you, and see you again next year, I suppose.
That's right. We will be seeing you again in 2023. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year.